So I kind of want to do the Jaylon first.
Let's do it,
Is
man.
that bad?
No, because
Kind of want to do the Jaylon first.
Here's why I think it makes sense. This was a choice. Like, we knew what the quarterback choice was going to be, and we'll get to that.
Yeah.
But this was a real specific choice.
Here's how Ryan Poles addressed unprompted Jaylon Johnson's contract.
Jaylon Johnson, in the process of getting Jaylon Johnson done, conversations are going well at this time. We feel like we've done a really good job kind of coming to the table strong, showing the respect that he's due just in terms of his production through his career, and really an emphasis on the turnovers that he created this past year. Our expectation is that's going to continue to go as he's with the Bears. When I say coming strong, that means cash flows are strong, guarantees are strong. The term is strong for him. Being hit with his age, there's a really good opportunity for him to go back to the market again and continue to earn money and play well, and hopefully that's with the Bears for a long period of time. So I'm excited about that. Like I've said about those deals all the time, it takes two to tango, and you got to find a place that everyone feels comfortable with. So I feel really good about that situation.
Right. In terms of Jaylon Johnson, you said things are going well with him. Do you think it's more likely that there's a long-term deal with him than the franchise tag?
I hope so. I'd like to avoid the franchise tag for him. I think there's a really good space for us to find a middle ground. Again, we always have the tag to use, but I really would like to get something done long-term with him.
So, Danny, I tuned in about 10, 15 seconds late to the press conference, and I thought, I must be a little later than that. I think he just announced a new deal for Jaylon Johnson. That's great. That's amazing. That's not what he was doing.
It's not what he was doing. I think that was a tactic. I think that is trying to put it into public pressure or court of public opinion that if they end up needing to use the franchise tag on Jaylon Johnson, that Jaylon will be the one as seen as being unreasonable.
That's what it felt like. It felt like public negotiation.
Which is his right to do. I don't expect it to have much of an impact on Jaylon. We've talked about this before. Jaylon wants to be the highest paid cornerback in the NFL. We don't know if that is to the tune of guarantee or average annual value. For guarantee, that's Denzel Ward. 5 years, $100 million, 71 guaranteed.
Right.
For highest average annual value, it's Jair Alexander. 4 years, $84 million, but only $30 million of practical guarantees. When Poles says that we think it's an aggressive deal for Jaylon, both in terms of cash flow and the opportunity to get back out onto the market and get paid, that suggests to me that they are making a deal on the shorter end of things so you could hit free agency at a younger age again. There's a big difference in guarantees between Jair Alexander's contract, which is the highest average annual value for a corner, and Denzel Ward's contract, which is for guarantees. So I don't think this is as close to being done as Ryan Poles is suggesting that it is.
Denzel Ward's contract is 5 years, as is Marshawn Lattimore's and Marlon Humphrey's and Trayvon Diggs.
Yes.
And Xavier Howard, who just got released, and J.C. Jackson, who got released by the Chargers as well. Jair Alexander's deal is for 4 years. Jalen Ramsey's deal is only for 3 years. These are the top 10 in terms of average annual value. Tre'Davious White is the only other one.
I'll be floored if it's 3 years.
Deal. No, I don't think it'll be 3
because Jalen signed multiple contracts already. Jalen Ramsey.
Exactly. Jalen Ramsey is a different case because there's been an injury and he's signed multiple contracts already. This is Jaylon Johnson's first one. I'm sure he's wanting a 5-year deal. And the 5-year deal would give you more of the guarantee. So maybe Poles is trying to play that shell game with the length of the deal.
Right. And here's the Bears messed up. They did. They waited. Jaylon wanted to sign. They didn't sign him. Jaylon demanded a trade. They didn't trade him. And at that point, Jaylon was playing well enough that they shouldn't have. But they didn't sign Jaylon. They played a game of chicken. They said, you've been a good cover corner, but you haven't been a good takeaway corner. And then Jaylon had the best year of his career, made the Pro Bowl, made second team All-Pro, and had a huge takeaway jump. Then Jaylon, at the end of the year, with us and other places, said, yeah, the price of yesterday is not the price today.
He doesn't have to make any concessions.
He
at this
said
point.
he wants to be the highest paid player in the NFL. So to me,
Highest paid corner.
Highest paid corner in the NFL is Denzel Ward. Because what do we always say about NFL contracts? It's all about the guarantee because they can void it. They can cut you. So that means, are they really going to get him above $71 million guaranteed? The cap's gone up. So I hope that they can do this before the franchise tag deadline of March 5th. But I heard from Ryan Poles, a guy saying, we're being aggressive.
Yeah.
We're giving him a bunch of money. We're giving him an opportunity to hit free agency again. I don't want to use the tag, but I could. There's a huge difference between Jair Alexander's contract and Denzel Ward's contract.
The top 7 cornerback contracts in terms of most guaranteed money, only one of them is a 4-year deal. 6 of the 7 top in terms of guaranteed money are 5-year deals. So if that's some kind of precedent that he's trying to do here, I agree that it sounded like negotiation, and I hope they get it done. And for Jaylon's sake, you know, I mean, look, if it's 4 years at 20-some mil a year and there's a good amount guaranteed, that's unbelievable generational wealth and an incredible thing. And it is just second team All-Pro. And it is just the first year where he's shown the turnover proclivity. And he was a second-round pick to begin with. And the team wants to do lots of other things.
But that actually should help because he's hitting free agency a year younger. So you're signing up for more of his 20s.
In terms of the second-round pick.
In terms of the second-round pick.
I hear you, but it definitely sounded like public negotiation and wanting to make it seem good because they screwed up with this one, and you could argue they screwed up with Roquan Smith, depending on how they ended up having to play that.
I think there's a huge gap between 30 to 40 million guaranteed and 70 million guaranteed. And if he actually wants to be the highest paid corner in the NFL, you've got to give him more than $70 million guaranteed. And so I'm not as optimistic. He will be tagged. He will be a Bear. He's not going anywhere. But I would not be as optimistic as Ryan Poles projected today that deal is going to get done.
We just throw a number out there. If you gave him a 4-year, $85 million contract, that is higher than Jair Alexander in terms of average annual value.
Correct. But what are you guaranteeing? Because Jair only got 30 guaranteed. Are you guaranteeing 60 million of it? Then that's a hell of a contract offer. Are you guaranteeing 35 of it?
Then you're still higher than Jair Alexander.
Right, but you're not higher than J.C. Jackson, Trevon Diggs, Tre'Davious White, Marshawn Lattimore, Marlon Humphrey, or Denzel Ward in terms of guarantees. So it depends on which. That's what I'm saying.
Yep.
Is it per year or total guarantees that Jaylon wants to be the highest paid guy in the league? My guess is it's guarantees.
All right.
And when Poles said he can hit free agency earlier with the deal that we made, my guess is he's talking about average annual value.
Sure.
So there's a huge gap there.
He could hit free agency again. So yeah, that was the clue.
That was the clue.
Shortness.
4-year deal v 5-year deal guarantee versus average annual value. Let's go back to Poles for Poles' position. We will hear from him on the process of the number 1 pick and players and what he's trying to get out of this week.
Now, the hot topic. The first pick, quarterback situation. Contrary to reports out there, I have no master plan to present to everyone today. This is an opportunity for us to continue to gather information, learn about the different players in the draft, listen to what opportunities could come up. And then at the end of the day, we're going to make the best decision that we can for the Chicago Bears. It will not be based on fear of what could happen with this and what could happen with that. We're going to put our information together and make the best decision because at the end of the day, we'll always throw our decision-making against kind of our core kind of deal, which is win championships and sustain success for a long period of time. There's a lot that goes into that, but we're excited to gather that information and create clarity as we go along.
Right, having been part of the evaluation process in Kansas City in 2017 with Holmes, how has that experience helped shape the way you go about evaluating quarterbacks and things you do in that regard?
Yeah, my background is I'm really fortunate to kind of see multiple phases and different types of processes put in place with, bringing a quarterback in from a trade to drafting. So again, there's a process that we've learned in terms of tape watching and getting to know guys and bringing them in and spending time with them to feel comfortable with that setup. So I can definitely tap into that experience.
Just on the process of evaluating the quarterback, obviously at the top of the draft there have been a lot of misses at the quarterback position.
Yeah.
What have you maybe learned about what goes into making a player, a great quarterback at the next level?
Yeah, there's a lot there, right? It's like, what's the infrastructure look like? What's around the player? I think that's key, and I think that's probably messed with the numbers a lot when you're talking about the top of the draft. I think that's what makes our situation unique and why we have to really do a deep dive into it. I think the person is a huge part. I've talked about that a lot. What's the makeup, the leadership? How do they handle pressure? How do they handle pressure in a big city like ours? So a lot of those factors go in.
Ryan, I know you said you weren't going to make a big reveal today in terms of what you're doing.
I have nothing to reveal at all.
Yeah, no, I totally.
I wish I did.
Yeah, I know. That's what I wait. Yeah, that's what I wait. I totally understand that. But do you have an idea, like what's the percentage of what you think you know right now ahead of the combine? Like, how important is the combine in making the decision?
Yeah, right now it's like 100 different scenarios that you go down and try to plot out, and you're forecasting forward to see what's going to work out and probabilities and things like that. But at the end of the day, the human being part, getting to know someone, getting to know a group of people is really going to determine it. And there's going to be options that pop up all the time that you don't see coming. I think I said it last year, like something will happen at some point in the next few months that no one expects.
Right.
So you got to be on your toes for that. So the picture will change as we go.
If you trade the number one mindset this year with the number one overall pick than what you had last year at this time?
No, I mean, it's unique, right? But I would say our approach is exactly the same in terms of we got to look at every option and determine what is best for our team. Obviously, we chose to trade back last year, and I think that helped our team out a lot. So again, we'll do a deep dive and see how it plays out.
How are you evaluating the prospects this week and gathering information? Do you have any concern at all that Caleb Williams or the team around him don't want to play in Chicago?
No concerns about that at all. I would love to know why, if that was the case. Like I said, I think as a young quarterback, and I've been around it, the infrastructure is important, and I think we've made really good progress in terms of having really good infrastructure for whoever were to come in, or if Justin were to stay here as well.
In terms of your quarterback evaluation when you were in Kansas City, Cliff Kingsbury said that Patrick Mahomes and Caleb Williams are eerily similar. When you watch the tape, do you see that?
There's pieces that are similar. Obviously, the one that stands out to everyone is just different arm angles. That's a unique trait. Not a lot of guys can do that. I'll give Jeff King, who's on my team, credit. He painted a picture of, there's two types of quarterbacks. There's artists and then there's surgeons. So within that group, you can kind of see who's the artist that's really creative, doesn't draw within the lines, where there's more of surgeons who are, like your typical, like the Bradys and Peytons. So we kind of branch them out on those buckets and go from there. So that's where they're similar.
Is there a percentage you prefer with artists and surgeons?
No. Winners. Yeah.
If you identify a quarterback prospect as your guy, is there any price that can move you off of your guy?
Would be our guy, right? Like it's not about me at all. That's hard to answer right now because I need kind of the whole puzzle put together to figure that out.
So that is what this week is going to be like. Last year, around this time, at the end of the combine, we started to hear that the number one pick was truly for sale. And I'm expecting this time next week, Justin Fields will either have been traded or it will be out there that Justin Fields, the ability for him to be your quarterback, is out there for other teams.
When did he say last year, I would absolutely have to be blown away?
I think that was going in. I think that was even before, right? Wasn't that when they got the number one pick? I think that was at the end of the season presser. that he said that, and then he reiterated it
At the combine.
At the combine, and he said it again this year at the end of season presser, but didn't say it today. I don't think that's that tough of a dot to connect. So we can hear more on how Ryan Poles handled the Justin Fields portion of this.
Yeah, but like a couple things in there, because he was asked about, is it a different mindset than last year? He said no, but lots of pauses as he thinks about it, and talked about the approach and talked about the process. It is a different mindset.
We've got another year of data on Justin Fields, and he's a year closer to needing to pay.
Yeah. He's a year
and
closer.
It's a different quarterback class.
Yeah.
So, of course, there are differences.
And you have another year of data, and after you did give him some stuff like DJ Moore and a first-round tackle. And I thought it was interesting that the Caleb Mahomes similarity question is what led to the artist and surgeon anecdote coming out of his mind from about Jeff King.
And he easily could have said on Caleb, it's ridiculous to put Mahomes onto any of these prospects.
He said some is there.
Yeah.
Talked
including
about
the arm angles.
The arm angles.
Yeah.
The quickness of the release with all the different arm angles.
Here's what he said about Justin Fields and the idea of a trade.
Right. What is your, if you decide to draft a quarterback, what is your motivation to trade Justin before free agency starts, knowing that there might be a premium on that?
Yeah, again, it just depends on what opportunities pop up. I will say this, I think you guys know me well enough now. If we go down that road, I want to do right by Justin as well. No one wants to live in gray. I know that's uncomfortable. I wouldn't want to be in that situation either. So we'll gather the information. We'll move as quickly as possible. We're not going to be in a rush, and see what presents itself and what's best for the organization.
Did you talk to him? I know he made those comments last week about kind of living in limbo on this. Have you had conversations with him about where you guys are at right now in that process?
Yeah, so I've always felt, and I told him this after the season when we had our exit meetings, that transparency and communication is key in these moments, and I told him we will do that. So I've been in contact with his team and kind of let them know like what we're looking at, how things might play out. And that we'll continue to communicate as we move forward. Again, I understand how uncomfortable that is for him. But again, like I told him, and he understands, I think he said it the other day too, it's part of this business. It is a unique situation. So, but yeah, I'll continue that communication.
Ryan, how do you view the draft assets you have, picking first and ninth? You would theoretically be targeting star players if you kept those picks,
yep, versus
converting those into more picks, but they are lesser picks.
Yeah, that goes into the equation, right? I mean, you got to look at what's there in that area in terms of drafting. Again, you got to listen to the trade. Like, you don't trade back 1, trade back 2, trade back 15. Like, that changes the dynamic based on where the board is set up. I think I talked about that last year. We'll end up counting the guys in certain spaces that we feel like can be impact players for our team. So that goes in the equation as well. But I think it's a really good opportunity to improve our football team. And the other thing is, like, very open and understand that draft picks are just opportunity, right? You got to capture that. You got to be right with your draft picks. So we understand that as well.
If you do move off the number 1 pick, we've heard crazy, we've heard historic, all those adjectives used for the amount of compensation you need. What are you looking for?
Yeah, it's hard to say right now, but it's got to help our organization significantly to move around. Because we saw what it did last year, and I'm looking for that type of return to continue to improve our football team.
Right. When do you want to know what you're going to do?
Tomorrow.
No, in all seriousness, though, before free agency?
I would love to know as soon as possible.
Right.
I mean, I would love to know, but I know that's not how the process works. There's before free agency would be good. Like I said, I'm also taking, if we were to do something with Justin, like, I want to do right by him. And I know, again, living in that gray space, you would want to do something sooner rather than later. But just like I talk about with contracts, it takes 2 teams to figure that out. But at the same time, we're also trying to figure out the draft process as well. So there's a lot of different things with different timelines going, and that's what makes it a little bit difficult.
So are you expecting a busier combine than usual? Like, I'm imagining you're going to be a pretty popular guy this week. Everybody wants to buy you dinner and talk about all these different assets that you might trade. I mean, is it going to be a different combine for you?
Yeah, it feels that way. Yeah.
Has it already started?
Oh yeah, my phone won't stop.
How aggressive are people with fishing for information from other teams to see what you want to do with that?
Yeah, It starts slow. We were at the Senior Bowl. I know people are kind of poking around. I haven't had like big time conversations with anyone, but everyone wants to, take a temperature of what's going on.
Every time someone approaches you.
Yeah.
How would you say last year's trade worked out for you guys, for the Panthers, and even Houston that didn't get the number 1 pick?
Yeah. I'll only comment on us. I thought it worked out really well. Just adding 2 good players like Darnell and DJ. Had no idea this would work out where it would be the first overall pick, but I would say that's successful. And then, a future 2 as well.
Swag.
So it worked out well for us, and we'll keep growing up with that.
You know how universally loved Justin is by this team. Have you thought about what that conversation is going to be like if you do trade and what you're going to like delivering that message to the team?
Yeah, he's a leader. Everything our guys have said is true, and not surprised our guys have said what they have said. I feel the same way, and I think sometimes this whole thing gets Justin versus another person, and I have to look at it a little bit differently. I take that into effect. That's why the person is so important when we evaluate other people that would come in that position. But also it's my job to think of the long term, and a lot of our guys kind of don't see that. That's not their job to do that, and they defend their guy, which I think speaks volumes about our culture and our locker room.
I mean, you've made big trades before. Would that cause is there anxiety that comes with that for someone who would have to deliver that sort of news?
No, because I have faith in our ability to communicate with our guys, and when we do that, I think they'll know that it's in the best interest of the team. And I think as we've moved along here, I think the trust factor is there, that they're in good hands with however we decide to kind of play.
Man, do you hear that? When we do that, they'll know it's in the best interest of the team.
Yeah, I mean, I think he means like when we have to address them,
People who defend Justin don't maybe see the long term like I have to see.
Yeah. People keep coming at me on this because the video's out there of the opening segment. I'm like, I don't know how you could listen to this guy and think that he's going back to Justin when we've heard him in years past. It sounds very different to me. Not that he's tipped his hand, but just that he is so open to he's entertaining the possibility. He's not saying Justin is our quarterback or anything like that. But Ryan Poles is good at this, man. He's very like this station has graded press conferences for 3 decades. And normally it happens on the making fun of the guys and giving out F's and D's and it's negative. Ryan Poles is good at it. He's not Theo level, but he's very, very good at being clear, being concise, giving you enough to feel like he is revealing things while not totally tipping his hand. I think he's very good at it.
I think that's true, and I think he's a human being. Like he's like a normal human being who like actually gives a crap about people. So when you hear that can let you know where some of the thoughts are. I mean, like he goes back to it. He says it the first time, but goes back to it later about want to do right by Justin. It comes up multiple times because he empathizes with dude living in the gray, but he also says we're not going to rush. There's transparency and communication. That sounded very much like, as a human being, not wanting to like make a good guy like Justin Fields twist in the wind out there and make sure everybody knows that he likes Justin and would be clearer about it if he could, but wants to do right by him. He's going to trade him, and he wants to make sure he does right by him.